Hey everybody, it's Kendra. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and welcome back if you've been here before. So my video today is going to be how to make kimchi. So this is what kimchi looks like. Kimchi is fermented cabbage. It's a Korean dish. Usually at about pretty much every meal in Korea, you will get a little side dish of kimchi. I used to hate kimchi. I thought it was disgusting. Now I love it. I'm used to it. I even named one of my cats Kimchi. So yeah, I'm gonna be showing you how to do this today. I actually just made this about a month and a half ago, so I don't actually really need kimchi, but I was in the co-op the other day and I saw the most gorgeous Napa cabbage and I just had to have it. So I thought, okay, we'll just use that to make another batch of kimchi. So some kimchi, like, you can let it age for a really long time. I actually have a very, very small amount of kimchi left that I made last March. And it's kind of fun to make kimchi at different times throughout the year, just because like the produce you get will have slightly different flavors to it. But it's also really nice to compare, like, you know, an 8 or 10-month-old kimchi with a fresh kimchi, because they definitely become much more pungent and more like, not acidic, kind of not really acidic. They become more fermented as time goes on. So recently I have been eating a lot of bibimbap, which is like a Korean rice bowl. It's fabulous and I want to do a video on it. But when I've been making bibimbap, I really like to have, you know, a nice big scoop of old kimchi and then a nice big scoop of fresh kimchi. I like to taste the differences in them. So anywho, the recipe I'm going to be sharing today is just what I do. I'm not a kimchi expert by any means, but I am going to be making this kimchi vegan today. So a lot of kimchis will actually have either fish sauce or shrimp paste. I think it's shrimp paste. I don't think it's shrimp sauce. But to me, I've tried doing kimchi with fish sauce, but for me, I just don't like the flavor. I think fish sauce just it's a little bit too strong for me. So I prefer to just leave that stuff out and keep this vegan. Also, I am not going to be using sweet white rice flour. In other kimchi recipes I've tried, they do have you make this paste of sweet white rice flour. And to me, I just think it's a little bit too much work. So basically the process I'm gonna be doing today is pretty much exactly how you make sauerkraut, just with way different ingredients. Just chop everything up, put on your salt, your spices, and then just kind of go to town, massage it, and then just let it sit out and ferment. So first of all, I wanna show you the ingredients. So this is that Napa cabbage I was talking about. How pretty is this? You've got like purple leaves on the inside. It's kind of green on the outside. I mean, I was not even like needing anything near this in the co-op, but I saw this. I'm like, what is that? Is that a Napa cabbage? I'm like, that's the most gorgeous Napa cabbage I've ever seen. So I'm gonna be using this whole Napa cabbage. I'm also gonna be adding some carrots in, probably like, I don't know, 2 or 3, maybe 4. All right, I'm also gonna be using some green onions today. So I've got 2 bunches here. They're each like 7 or 8 green onions. I think I'll use pretty much all of these. And I'll be using them, you know, a fair way up. I don't want to waste too much of that. We're also going to be using some daikon radish. You can use white daikon. I just happen to have some purple daikon from the CSA. I'll probably use this whole thing. Daikon has such a beautiful flavor. The purple daikon, when you cut into it, you'll see in a second, it's kind of like white and purple. It's so pretty. So this adds a nice crunchy element to it. I'm also going to be using some garlic. So I am a big fan of garlic. Garlic has so many health benefits, so I am going to be using a lot. Do I feel like using 2 full bulbs? We'll see when I actually make this. But yeah, you definitely want some fresh garlic. Now, another thing I love to add into my kimchi is ginger. So this is like young baby ginger I actually got from the CSA a couple weeks ago. So I'm gonna use this, and then I do have some other ginger, because ginger in kimchi makes it so nice. It just, oh, it's so special. I love putting fresh ginger into my kimchi. All right, I also do happen to have some fresh turmeric. So I'm gonna be using this as well. So I've made kimchi plenty of times without turmeric. I just happen to have it and it's kind of needing to be used up. So I'm gonna do that. But turmeric just has a lot of really good health benefits. So When I've got it, I just throw it in. All right, I'm also gonna be using some burdock. So burdock is a root. I will peel this and just chop it up really, just into thin slices. You don't have to use burdock. I'm just using it because, like the turmeric, I have it. I generally just juice burdock, but when I have it, I do like to add it to kimchi. Burdock is really, really good for cleaning out the liver. Really good for detoxification. It doesn't have a weird flavor. It's just kind of earthy. So in kimchi, I mean, you don't even taste it because, as you're gonna see in a bit, you know, you use a lot of chili pepper flakes. So if I have this, if I can get this locally, I love to add burdock. All right, and then for making kimchi, you absolutely need something called gochugaru, which is a Korean red pepper powder. Gosh, this is so fine. The one I had before this, actually, I'll show you. Like, this is like proper powder. This is the one I have been using, and this is like way, way coarser. So I'm gonna do a mix of these today. So gochugaru is just like a Korean red chili pepper, which actually looks like this. So in addition to these two powders today, these two are exactly the same. I just wanna use up the old one. I do actually have 4 Korean chili peppers that I'm gonna be using that need to be used. Like, even this guy has a little mold on it. So I've never actually done kimchi with fresh Korean chili peppers, but because I have them from the CSA, I want to use them up. So I thought it would be fun to just have, like, you know, some chunks of chili pepper in my kimchi, along with like kind of the paste that forms from the actual chili powders. And then finally, you're gonna need some type of salt. So I'm just using pink Himalayan salt. You could use kosher salt, sea salt. I like to either use like sea salt or pink Himalayan salt. All right, folks, let's turn this gorgeous cabbage into kimchi. All right, so I want to show you quickly how I prepped every type of vegetable. So for the radish, I peeled it and then I quartered it and sliced it. So I would say these are probably about an 1/8 inch slices. This is like a nice bite-sized piece. And then for the carrots, same thing. I peeled it, but then I just did slices. You could use a mandolin. I have used a mandolin. I definitely prefer to just slice them. Sometimes I feel like a mandolin gets it a little bit too thin. So yeah, you could, you know, have these or quarter them, but I just don't think that's necessary. And this is the burdock. So the burdock I just peeled and sliced. You could really be super picky about how you peel it. I was not. And I know in the past sometimes I have left it unpeeled. All right, and now here I have the garlic, turmeric, and ginger. You can see I've got like the nice yellow turmeric fingers from that. So these 3 I peeled. Obviously I used a vegetable peeler for the ginger and the turmeric, and then I chopped them up. So I love using one of these guys. You know, it's just got this chopper action. These are amazing. So I use this for the garlic, the ginger, and the turmeric. And then for the green onions, I just, you know, took off the roots and just kind of skinned them and then chopped them up. All right, and then for the Korean chili peppers, so I took the ends off of these and I took off some bad spots because there were some kind of moldy spots because these guys were a little bit old. So with these, I took off the ends, I sliced them open, and then I took out all the seeds. I do not want all of the seeds because that's gonna bring a lot of heat. And then with these, I just chopped them up. All right, and now for the cabbage, I actually wanna show you how I do this. So I'm gonna take off the outer couple of leaves and toss those just because they're, you know, kind of yucky. And then what I'm gonna do is slice off the end. And now I'm gonna slice it the long way. Oh, that is so pretty. Look at that. Oh, gorgeous. And then I'm gonna cut this kind of in thirds and then chop it this way in, you know, relatively decent sized chunks. You want this to be kind of bite sized. You don't want them to be like crazy massive. But I like to have some, you know, pretty good sized cabbage chunks in my kimchi. So this is probably like, you know, 1 inch this way by 2 inches this way. You know, that's a pretty good size. You could do it, you know, bigger, you could do it smaller, whatever you like, but generally, you know, sort of like a nice chunk is kind of where I like to go. Oh my gosh, everything is so messy right now. When you make kimchi, don't worry about making a mess because you've got so many ingredients and so much stuff going on. My floor is covered right now. All right, so just doing the same thing on the other side. Nice, you know, medium-sized chunks of Napa cabbage. Now it's really nice to do a mix of both green Napa cabbage and red Napa cabbage if you can find both of them. Just green is fine, just red is fine. All right, so I've got this gigantic bowl. This is like the biggest bowl I own. It's very full already. This is just the cabbage chopped up. And now I'm gonna add everything else. Okay, we got the carrots, the radish, we got the burdock, green onions. Okay, we got turmeric and the garlic, our Korean chili peppers, and our ginger. So for the ginger and the garlic, and actually the turmeric, you know, I chop them all up like this. If you wanted to, you could also slice them. All right, let's make some kimchi. So I'm gonna be massaging this for a while. So I'm gonna encourage you to wear some sort of rubber gloves. These are nitrile gloves. Just because you're gonna be using a lot of this like spicy stuff, this gochugaru. And it might irritate your skin. So anyway, let's get started. So I'm gonna dump in some gochugaru, and you're gonna keep adding stuff to this. You're gonna add, you're gonna taste, you're gonna massage, and so on. So I'm putting in a bunch of gochugaru and a bunch of salt. So I recommend just, you know, putting stuff in and mixing it up and massaging it, and then tasting it, because you can always add more salt, but it's, you know, obviously you can't remove salt. So see how full this bowl begins with? That is going to become, this is gonna go so small. This is going to release a lot of liquid, and it's gonna become very compact. So this might take, you know, a good 15 or 20 minutes. So you're just gonna get in there, get the cabbage up, get everything in there, mix it around, massage it up, add in salt, add in chili flakes. Just really, really work it. So we're adding salt because obviously that is going to act as a preservative, but salt is also going to draw out the liquid, the water in the vegetables, and get everything nice and juicy. And you see, this is only after actually like 3 minutes, and the bowl started out about here, and now we're already down to here. So it seems like you're gonna make a ton when you start doing this, but then once you start really massaging it and kind of breaking it all down, it really shrinks. So the stuff like, you know, the harder vegetables won't really break down or anything. Like in this process, at least, like this initial process. But the cabbages are gonna really, really break down, just like if you're making sauerkraut. Like this is basically the same process as making sauerkraut, just putting all your vegetables into a pot, putting some salt in, and then just really massaging it. And a little bit, you'll be able to see a lot of moisture kind of at the bottom of the bowl. Okay, I just tasted a carrot. It's pretty salty, but it's not very spicy. So I'm gonna add in the rest of my coarse gochugaru. Add in a bit of this stuff. Whew, that is bright. It's gonna be a very vibrant kimchi, I think. All right, so here we are at 6 minutes, and we're probably only taking up like half the bowl now, but this is not yet finished. Like I still need to squeeze this probably at least like 5 more minutes. I would say you're gonna be massaging this for at least 10, maybe 15 or 20 minutes. Just kind of depends how juicy, how crisp and crunchy your vegetables are. You wanna make sure there is like a lot of liquid coming out. Oh yeah, listen to that juiciness. All right, I just took a bite of cabbage, so I'm gonna add in a bit more chili powder and a bit more salt. But I'd say as far as flavor goes, we're pretty good. We are almost there. Like when I squeeze this, I can actually feel the liquid kind of coming out. You don't want to pack dry kimchi into jars. You want to have, you know, when you pack all the vegetables down into the bottom of the jar, you want to have a nice layer of liquid towards the top. And as this ferments, it's definitely going to keep releasing liquid. And I'm gonna show you a day by day of how it looks every day after I finish this and have put it in a container. It's pretty cool. It's pretty neat to see the whole process. Now also, if you wanted to add shrimp paste or fish sauce to this, you totally could. I just do not love the flavor of those. I think they just make it a little bit too strong for me, a little bit too fishy. So I just prefer to omit them. But I know a traditional kimchi generally does have fish sauce or shrimp paste. Is it shrimp paste or shrimp sauce? I can't remember. Maybe both of those things exist. Clearly, I do not use either of them because I don't really know. All right, so I'm gonna say this is pretty good. So this bowl, I'm actually just looking here, there's like markings. This started at about 8 quarts and now we're down to like less than 2 quarts. So let's pack this guy up and call her a day. All right, so I've got a 100 ml Le Parfait canning jar. So I'm gonna stuff as much of this in there as I can. I may end up needing a second jar. And I would highly recommend using one of these canning funnels because kimchi making is real messy. And a canning funnel makes it less messy. I also like to just take a fork and really shove it down. So this is what you want, like when you push your kimchi down, you're starting to get that liquid kind of coming up. That is good. Oh yeah, I am definitely gonna need a second jar. All right, so I would say this is like as full as you're gonna want this. I actually think this might be a little bit too full. I'm gonna take a tiny bit out. As this begins to ferment, you know, you are gonna have some bubbles forming and that's gonna, you know, come up and you can definitely make a super huge mess with this because liquid will come out. So you want to allow for the fermentation process to happen. So you want to just leave a little bit of extra space. Alrighty, so I ended up getting 2 of these 1000 ml Le Parfait jars full of kimchi. So yeah, I totally made more than I planned to. Now you notice I've got these glass food storage containers underneath. I highly recommend this. This is going to ferment. It's going to be sitting out for like probably 5 days, maybe 6. Just depends on how things are going in there. And in the fermentation process, like some liquid is going to escape out of the jar. So I highly recommend doing this. The first couple times I made kimchi, I definitely woke up to a couple puddles of kimchi juice all over my countertops. So anywho, I'm gonna let this sit out for a few days and I'm gonna come back every 24 hours just to check on its progress. All right, so here we are about 24 hours after I first made the kimchi. So if you look here, you can see this one has a whole bunch of liquid. And that is, again, why I put the container underneath it. Pretty much all day today, I keep hearing this like bubbling noise. Did you hear that? So that's kind of been my whole day today and I'm constantly like, wait, what is that noise? But anyway, it's just the kimchi bubbling. I'm gonna open these up and hopefully it doesn't explode on me. So that has risen a lot. You see all the bubbles and stuff coming out. This is we've really got some good fermentation going on here. So what I like to do is just kind of push it back down just to release some of those bubbles. So the color has developed to kind of like a deeper sort of red. And it's pretty helpful if you actually stick something down in there, like a chopstick would work really well for this, to just release some of the bubbles that are way down there. And then I do like to kind of clean up the jar a little bit. So I'm just taking a paper towel and cleaning up the top a little bit, along with the sides. This will definitely keep bubbling over till tomorrow, but I'd like to keep it as clean as I can. Seal it back up. And I am going to clean up the bottom. I like to know like every day how much liquid is coming out. Oh God, this thing is like exploding on me. I now have kimchi juice like all over my kitchen. So you can see I probably did fill these a little bit too full, just because it definitely does get a lot of bubbles. Yeah, I might actually take some out of this. Okay, so I did end up taking out about this much. This is a little bit less than 1 cup of kimchi. So you can see in here now, it's gonna have a bit more space to get all bubbly and yeah, just have a little bit more space so it's not going to burst on me again tomorrow. All right, so here we are about 48 hours in. As I mentioned yesterday, I did put some kimchi in a little container, which I think was very, very helpful. So let's open this guy up. He looks pretty good. There definitely is a lot of bubbly action going on in here. I'm just gonna kind of push it down. Oh yeah, that is starting to smell like kimchi. All right, and if we zoom in on this guy, you can see right here, there is some nice bubbling action coming out. And if I push down on that, you can really hear it. All right, let's open this up and try to not explode everywhere. Ah, whew. Okay, good. Definitely have some bubbling happening, like here and over here. Yeah, you see how full this is now. You know, I took out a fair amount yesterday, so you can really see how much all of the carbon dioxide has come up and pushed everything up. So again, I'm just gonna push this down. Definitely wanna give yourself some space for the bubbling action to take place. It's pretty cool. Like, it's usually like the first 3 or 4 days that it bubbles up, and then you kind of know when it stops bubbling, like, okay, now it's about time to go in the fridge. And as you can see, I didn't have any liquid coming out, and that's just because I moved some of the kimchi, so this had more space. All right, so here we are after 3 days of letting the kimchi sit out. I feel like it's getting to be a more vibrant kind of red. I felt like the first couple days it was kind of like a purpley brown, but now I feel like that gochugaru is really coming through and we're getting a really pretty red. So here is the little half pint jar. You know, looks pretty good. I don't really need to do anything with that. And then these have really not been bubbling much today. I haven't really heard them. So let's see. Yeah, I just had a very slight little gurgle there as I opened it. But again, I am gonna, you know, poke this down. There are some bubbles coming up as I do this. You can see kind of in the side, like there's a whole bunch of bubble action here. I think this is probably only gonna need maybe like another day or two before it goes in the fridge. So yeah, even though it hasn't been making too many bubbly noises, the fact that I can push this down definitely shows like it is still bubbling up. I think it's just because I moved a lot of it to that other jar. Ooh, that's pretty. Let's check out this one. Yeah, very little CO2 being released, but it did raise a lot. So again, we're just gonna poke it down. It's definitely starting to smell like very kimchi-y, very potent. You can definitely smell like the garlic, kind of like that pungent cabbage sort of scent. All right, so here we are. It has been 4 days since I made this. And now the main thing I'm seeing is just the color difference. I feel like every day it just becomes brighter and brighter, this like gorgeous red. You can still see some bubbles coming up here. And you can kind of see like where, you know, there is a little bit of CO2 bubbling up. But I think this is probably going to be good in about like 1 more day. So anyway, let's take a peek. Here's our little guy. Yummy. Okay, it's nice and juicy. Oh yeah. All right, let's see if we get a noise. Nope. Oh, so there is like a tiny bit of bubbling coming up when I open it, but it's really a good thing. I know I say this every time, but it's really a good thing that I took some out. Otherwise stuff would just be bubbling over like crazy. So you can see like as I do this, The kimchi is kind of going down just because I'm releasing a lot of carbon dioxide. So yeah, this looks gorgeous. This is so pretty. Yum. And let's do the other one. So we got a little bit of like a kind of a pop when I opened this. This guy was definitely stuck to the bottom of the jar. I just want to give you a side by side. Like this is after I've already pushed it down, and this one I haven't yet. So you can really see like the levels are different. So again, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Release some of those bubbles. But I usually like to let it sit out and continue to ferment until, you know, it stops releasing tons and tons of bubbles, which I'm not really getting like a lot of hissing sounds. You know, the first couple days during the day, I would listen to this and like I would just hear this hissing noise all throughout the day. And I was like, what is that? I didn't understand what that noise was at first. And I always forget that it's the kimchi. But yeah, it's usually like that the first couple days, and then it kind of quiets down. So I think tomorrow, I think after a 5th day of sitting out and fermenting, I think it'll be ready for the fridge. Alrighty, so here we are about 5 days out. You know what? I think this is good to go. I think this is ready to go in the fridge, but let's just take a quick peek. So as I opened it, I did feel, you know, kind of like a burst of air coming out. So, and this is, you know, it is bubbly, but it is not quite like it had been. Like this, the level was still relatively low. It hadn't raised up too much. So I'm just going to push this down as much as I can to keep this nice kind of layer of liquid over it. And I'm just going to say this is good. It's time to go in the fridge. And this one, I don't even really see any bubbles in it. So yeah, I think like the main fermentation is done, and it'll slowly continue to ferment in the fridge, no big deal. But yeah, it has a very pungent smell. It definitely has that kimchi smell. You can also taste it now. Let's try this little carrot that fell out. So yeah, it should be kind of spicy, kind of sour. Oh yeah, that's definitely ready to go. So what I'm also gonna do now is actually dump in this little jar, because the main fermentation is basically done. So I won't really need this extra space. So if I put this back, it should be okay. I should not have any kimchi like spilling over in the fridge. So if you want to eat this now, you absolutely can. It is definitely ready. You could also just let it sit for a month or 2 or 6 or a year. It just kind of depends, like how you like your kimchi, how old you like your kimchi. If you are new to eating kimchi and making kimchi, you know, maybe try it when it's relatively young. Maybe you would find that like an old kimchi would be a little bit too potent. All right, so there you go. These are good to go, and it's time for the fridge. All right, so there you go. That is how you make kimchi. It does take a bit of time. Like it doesn't take too long to actually make it, but it is kind of a process that you have to do over like 5 days. Like this is a fermentation project, so you just kind of got to check it every day to sort of see where everything is at. Also, because we were talking about kimchi, this thought just totally popped into my head. In Korea, when you are taking a photo with people, you know, instead of saying cheese, well, they do actually say cheese, like to smile for a photo. They'll say like 1, 2, 3, kimchi. So anywho, if you have made kimchi before, I would love to know what you do. What do you do differently from what I do? What do you put in your kimchi? How long does it take you to get through a thing of kimchi? I mean, I can have a jar of kimchi like this in the fridge for like months. And then I finally am like, let's have Korean food. That sounds good. And then this will be gone in like 2 months. So anyway, have a fabulous weekend. I hope you guys are doing great. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.